Today's lesson is 9.6, factoring. The only difference from the notes for today, or factoring from today versus last week, is that the value of A in this lesson is not going to be 1. So today we're going to factors. You may need to list several pairs of factors to find the two that multiply but add up to the value that you're looking for. Make your factor box. Remember when you make your factor box, and they're already made for you in your notes, but remember that this is ax squared. So we're going to put whatever term is here in this box, and then this is c. What goes in the other two blanks, Stella? Do you remember?
No.
The factors that we choose from our times plus chart, right? We get the factors, and what do we add to them?
The variable.
Yeah, the variable, whatever variable it is we're talking about, okay? All right, so let's get started. So example A, 2y squared plus 5y plus 2. I need to fill out my times plus chart. So I need to multiply 2 times 2. So the value that I'm looking for in my times chart, or the times side, is 4. And then the value on the plus side is 5. Presley, what two numbers, or what two factors of 4 multiply to equal 4 but add up to equal 5?
4 more.
Yeah, 4 times 1 equals 4, and 4 plus 1 equals 5. So now I need to fill out my factor chart. Remember that the ax squared, or 2y squared, goes here. C, or 2, goes in the last one. And what am I going to put here again, Tina?
The factors with the variable.
Okay, so what do you want me to put?
The first one is just put y,
Okay,
and then the second one is 4y.
awesome. So y and 4y. And then the next thing I need to do is find the greatest common factor for each column, and then the greatest common factor for each row. So what is the greatest common factor in this row, Stella?
2, 1.
Is there 2
Oh,
here?
wait, no, just y.
Just y. Very good. And what about this row? Stella?
Oh, 2.
2. Okay. Riley. Midkiff, sorry. Greatest common factor in this column, Riley.
2y.
Awesome. Greatest common factor in this column? Awesome. And then remember that these values, let me know what symbols I'm using in here. These are both positive, so I'm just going to write 2y plus 1 times the quantity y plus 2. And that, or those, are the factors of 2y squared plus 5y plus 2. Okay? What do you think?
Easy.
Easy? Okay. Riley Dobbs, let's look at example B. What do I put for the times plus chart? What am I looking for on the times side?
42.
42. Awesome. And what am I looking for on the plus side?
23. Or negative.
Negative 23. Okay. So let's start listing factors of 42. Let's see. 6 times 7. That equals 13. That's not it. What about 21 and 2? That equals a positive 23.
Ooh.
Yeah, if I make them both negative. Perfect. So a negative 21 times a negative 2 is a positive 41. And they add up to a negative 23. That's perfect. So let's go ahead and fill out our factor box. First term is 6n squared. The last term is the 7. And then what two factors am I going to list?
Negative 21n.
Negative 21n.
And
Negative 2n. Okay, that's perfect. All right, I'm going to stick with you, Riley. So, column, the first column, what's the greatest common factor? 3. They're both is like 3. 3n. Good job. Okay. And what about in the bottom? What's the greatest common factor? Is 7 divisible by 2? Just 1. Yep. Okay. What about 7 is prime? So if it's not a multiple of it, then yeah, it's going to be just 1. What about here in this column? 2n. Okay. And what about here? In this column, I have negative 21 in and 7. So 7. Okay. So both of these are what? Negative. So I have 2n minus 7, and I have 3n minus 1. So those are the factors of 6n squared minus 23. How do we check it? FOIL. Okay, so let's check this one, because this one looks a little scary. So let's do the check. So I have to FOIL it. 2n times 3n is 6n squared. 2n times a negative 1 is negative 2n. Negative 7 times negative 3 is negative 21n. And a negative 7 times a negative 1 is a positive 7. When I combine these, I end up with 6n squared minus 23n plus 7. Is that what I started with? Yeah. All right. Next one. 20x squared plus 80x plus 35. Times plus chart. What's that going to look like? Caleb? Add a 0, 700. Sean, so 700 would be in the times column, but Sean has something to say. What is it, Sean?
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, then Peyton has something to say. What is it, Peyton?
Well, I was going to say that if you took 3 times 20.
Oh, okay. Tina has something to say. What is it, Tina?
Divide them all by 5.
Yeah, this has a greatest common factor, and that's step number 1, right? Take out a greatest common factor if you can. So we can divide every single term by 5. Now, I'm dividing by a 5. The first thing that I'm going to do is write this down here next to my parentheses because I don't want to forget it when I'm all done, right? So 20x squared divided by 5 is 4x squared. 80x divided by 5 is 16x. And 35 divided by 5 is 7. Now, for my times plus chart, 4 times 7 is 28. Positive 16. So what two numbers do I multiply together to get 28 that when I add them equals 16? 14 and 2. And they're both positive. So let's fill out our factor table or our factor chart. 4x squared and 7. You see that I'm using the terms from the new expression. And then I have a 14x and a 2x. All right, so let's look for our greatest common factor. 4x squared and 14x. First the greatest common factor, Sean?
2x.
2x, awesome. What about the next row? Yep, 1, okay. What about this column, Sean? 4x squared and 2x.
2x.
2x. And what about this column? 7. So I have 2x plus 7 and 2x plus 1. So really I have 5 times the quantity, 2x plus 7 times 2x plus 1. And I remember to put that 5 there. Don't forget that. So as soon as you divide or take out a greatest common factor, put it down in your answer blank. Presley.
For the next
Okay, Presley, what do you see?
one. All of those will by 11.
They are all divisible by 11. So we're going to take 11 out of every single term. So I'm going to put it right down here so I don't forget about it. So 11p divided by 11 becomes, or 11p squared becomes p squared. 77p divided by 11 is plus 7p. 66 divided by 11 is plus 6. Times plus chart. What's the value I'm looking for? Times. 6 plus. What's the factors of 6 that when I add them together equals 1 and 6? Do I need to fill out the factor table?
Nope.
Why?
Because
Because the value of p is 1, or a is 1, yeah. So I can go right to the cheat. P plus 1 times p plus 6. Now I know that your homework has a couple that look kind of scary, but once you take out the greatest common factor, you're going to find out that a is in fact 1. Okay, so use that cheat. Good job. Okay, number E. How about letter E? Riley, what do you think? What's the times plus? Give me the times plus chart. 65. And what about on the plus side? 8. Okay. I know that there's no greatest common factor because I have 2 prime numbers in here, right? And usually when you have 2 primes in an expression, they're the 2 that help you make up your times plus chart. So look at that. What are the factors of negative 65 that when I add them together give me a positive 8? 13 and negative 5. When I add them, they give me positive 8. So I'm going to fill out my table or my factor box. 13p squared, negative 5, and then I have a factor of 13p and a factor of negative 5p. Okay, Peyton, greatest common factors of the rows. 13p and negative 5. What about greatest common factors of the columns? Okay. And 1, yeah. So I have p, that's a positive 1, right? Plus 1, and 13p minus 5. And I see here that my 5 should be negative, and it is. Now we could factor, or we could FOIL every single one, but I want to kind of show you how I do it in my head. I call it a touch check, and I just look at the last 2 numbers. Negative 1, or positive 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. P times 13p is 13p squared. And then I see I have a positive 13 and a negative 5. Positive 13 and negative 5 gives me my positive 8. So I do that just to check instead of doing the whole FOIL. Okay? Okay. Last one. This is different than your notes. Change this from your notes. I changed the problem in your notes. So it's 21. This is not what you have in your notes. 21q squared plus 51q minus 36. Presley, what do you see?
Divisible by 3.
We have a greatest common factor of 3. So I'm going to put a 3 down here by my answer. And 21q squared divided by 3 is 7q squared. 51q divided by 3 is a positive 17q. Negative 36 divided by 3 is a negative 12. So I'm going to use these values to fill this out after I figure out my times plus chart. So 7 times a negative 12 is negative 84. B, the plus, is 17. So when you think about factors of 84, think of easy things. It's even, so you know it's divisible by 2. It's also divisible by 4 because 8 and 4 are both divisible by 4. So let's try 4. So 4 times what equals 81? 84, sorry. 4 times 21. Well, the cool thing is I know the difference between these two is 7. So which term is going to be negative to make this a negative 84? Do I want my 4 to be negative or my 21?
You said the difference between 7.
17, sorry, you know what I mean. I'll probably dub this over, just so it's better. So, negative 4 positive 21 equals 17. Let's fill out our factor box. 7q squared, negative 12. And then my 2 factors, negative 4q and 21q. All right. Alyssa, greatest common factor. Okay. Tina, greatest common factor. Q. What about the next row?
3.
Awesome. Okay. What about in the columns? Savannah. 7 and 21 are both divisible by 7q. Good job. What about here? How about negative 4? 4 is divisible by 4, 12 is negative. So when I fill this out, I have a 7q minus 4 and a q plus 3. Now hopefully you guys have figured out that when you have